Hey everyone, Disappointed Giant here. Welcome to another long play. This one is another viewer build, so we're getting back into those. I do have a little bit of a backlog. I have not recorded a ton of videos, but I have not forgotten about everyone that has submitted a build. I'm going to get through as many of these as I can. It's going to take me a bit, but we're going to do it. So this one here was submitted by RPGs 402. Very simple. I love it. Straight up the middle. Doesn't require a lot of brain power on my part. RPGs has said, would love to see a Castlevania weapon only run, whips cross holy water, etc. So this is great because, well, first of all, I have spent so much time over the past couple of years talking about the Castlevania DLC and being like, well, it's not my favorite, and the levels are this, and Dracula is that, and all of this other stuff. But what's great about this run for me, and hopefully what's great about it for you too, is that instead of, we're only doing the Castlevania stuff that I like. So we are not going to Outskirts, we are not going to either Dracula's castle, and by accident, we're not going to fight Final Dracula. So we're gonna talk about that a little bit. My initial plan was to go to Dracula, but I made a mistake. But it all worked out. It all worked out for the best. So thank you, RPGs, for the build suggestion. Again, this one, I enjoyed doing this one a lot because, like I said, I got to really focus on the things that I enjoy about the Castlevania DLC. And it's funny too because I feel like I've done like more Castlevania DLC videos, builds, whatever it is, than I have any of the other DLCs. Well, like, yeah, I've gone to Shrines a bunch, and what else have I done? Like, we did Servants recently, so like I've done a couple things here and there, but I feel like as far as videos go, I've spent a little bit extra time on the Return to Castlevania DLC. So we got ourselves our first challenge riff. All right, so we already get a little bit of good luck here in the run. So this is our, what do we want to call this? Our return to the Return to Castlevania DLC. Or like we're returning again to Castlevania DLC. But yeah, so this is a fun run. Hopefully y'all enjoy it. Just wanted to start off here to thank you for your time. Thanks for tuning in. I got a bunch of comments on my last video. That was the 2 hour and 10 minute long over-explained run. A lot of people were really enjoyed it, super stoked about it. And I actually got a couple of comments from people who were like, yeah, I'm here more for the commentary than the gameplay. So that was, I don't know, man, that was really special for me to read from the few of you who did say that. So hopefully this is another enjoyable one. My initial plan for this, so the way that things work for me, well, let's talk about the run real quick. I'll get back to this. So we're going Brutality here, and I chose to go Brutality because when you zoom out and you look at all of the weapons in the Return to Castlevania DLC, I think there's like 11 or 12 or something of them. I don't know exactly how many there are. There's a decent amount, but if you look at all of them, I think there are only might be 4. There might be 4 weapon skills, etc., that do not scale. Oh, maybe there's 5 that don't scale with Brutality, because we have the Bible that we're using now. It's a great, I enjoy this a lot. It's really funny. My girlfriend, we call her Miss Appointed Giant, which I think is really funny. MG, when she first saw me play the Return to Castlevania DLC, which I did at her house for the first time, it was actually, we got a holy water right off the bat. There we go. Check it off. It was actually really funny because I got super emotional from all like the music and this stuff, and she was like, "Baby, you okay?" I was like, "I don't know." But when she first saw the Bible, she said, "Is that a pizza box?" So every time I see this thing, I think of her, and I think of carrying a giant pizza box and whacking enemies with it. That's a very heavy pizza. It's a slow hit, does a lot of damage. It's like one of those like double crust, what do you call it? The stuffed crust Pizza Hut pizzas or something like that. Super funny, but the Bible's great. It scales, as you can see, scales with tactics and survival. It's interesting because it has these really heavy hits, which is the survival part, but then you have the spinning Bibles around you, as you can see, which is the tactics part. So this synergizes very well with point blank, so you can get the extra extra damage to those ranged little hits as the Bibles circle around you, but you also can benefit from the heavy attack and the bonus, or not bonus, but like the larger health pool if you take it with survival. So I think either way, either color, I think it's a good pick. So we got that here. So since we're going brutality, you know, there are some items that we're just not going to, that we're not going to get. So if I'm remembering correctly, I don't think we get Medusa's head. I know we don't get cross, and I know we don't get throwing axe, but I think we might get everything else. I want to say we might actually get a rebound stone here in Promenade, and we use it just for a little bit. We'll find out. Because again, this is another run that I recorded and half forgot about because I'm 1,000 years old. We'll see. But anyways, what's great about starting a run, right? So my last video, I talked about the different parts of a run. I think we're going to do melee. Yep. So we're going to slow enemies down. I'm also already starting to think about when I do get those brutality weapons, like what kind of mutations I'm going to want. Am I going to want melee after this in the second or third biome? Yeah. I think I am. Here we go. So we do have a rebound stone, which is fantastic. I think I'm going to grab it over the cat or over the holy water. Yeah. So I'm only grabbing this to showcase it. But what I was just going to say is about the beginning of the run, right? The super early stuff. It's great because you can pick a color so you could see, right? So I decided to go brutality, taking a couple of nice hits here in the prom. So I decided to go brutality, but because we're so early and because the scaling in the game hasn't ramped up at all, you can take any color and then you can use weapons, or at least I would say that you can use weapons of any color at the beginning of the game. So even if you have a build like this, you're saying, hey, I want to do Vengeance, Face Flask, and Spite Sword, right? We're looking at classic builds here. If that's what you want to do and you start building towards it, you get yourself your 3 or 4 brutality scrolls, right? So you're leaving there with 3 scrolls or 4 scrolls, depending on if you get a curse chest, whatever it is, right? But you don't find a Spite Sword, you don't find Vengeance, and then you get an Ice Crossbow out of the tube. You can use that Ice Crossbow through the prisoner's quarters, even though your stats are in a different color, because the scaling has not ramped up yet. So you're still at a point where the options, pretty much every option is up to you. So again, that beginning part, the beginning of the game or the beginning of the run, going from that into early game, you can kind of do whatever you want. And that's what I'm doing here. And you can see still, so I only have 1 stat in tactics. I don't have any extra stats in brutality, but my Bible is still killing enemies in like 2 shots. It's like I said, it's a very nice weapon. Getting that extra heavy hits from it, but also I'm using the rebound stone, which only scrolls with survival, and it's rocking. And it's rocking too, right? So we're in good shape here. But again, just thinking about where we're going, thinking about what colors I wanted to take, brutality is, I think it has the most individual items in overlap, maybe, I feel like, because if we're thinking about just brutality items, I know we have Morning Star, we have the Whip Sword. That actually might be it just for brutality only, but all the other stuff, right? We get Bat Volley, we got Maria's Cat, we have Holy Water, we have Alucard's Sword and Shield, we have the aforementioned, what am I writing in academic paper here? We have the ones I just mentioned, Whip Sword, we have Morning Star, we got Vampire Killer, right? So there's a lot of overlap there. So speaking of Morning Star, that was perfect. So if you have the return to, because you're just like, dude, where did that come from? I didn't have it in my backpack, it just popped up. If you have the Return to Castlevania DLC, at any point in any run, you can put in the Konami code, which is up, up, down, down, left, right, roll, jump. So if you want to see it, if you want to go back for those 15, 20 seconds or whatever and have a look, you'll see me kind of like gently move a little bit, and then I'm going to roll, duck and roll. Or I should say I'm going to roll and jump, and then the Morning Star is going to pop out. So you can do that once per run. So I initially thought about doing that early in the prisoners' quarters, but I was like, nah, man, like I was just talking about, I'm like, the scaling's not high enough yet. You know, we have plenty of time to start to build around brutality, and you know, I was like, I'll pop it when I need it. So I wanted to get enough Bible footage here so we could talk about it a bit. Talk about that pizza box. You know, what is it? Buy two get one, or you know, buy one Bible, get the second one half off, delivered in 20 minutes or less, so your money back. But yeah, so I did want to talk about it. I did want to showcase it. But if you are at that point where you're like, hey, you know, I'm playing brutality, I don't have a great weapon yet, I need something to fill the gap, you can do that. Again, if you can only do it if you have the DLC, of course, but again, it's up on the controller, up, down, left, right, roll, jump, and that morning star is just going to pop up. I think, I don't know exactly how it scales as the run goes on. I know in the prisoners' quarters on 4 and 5 BC, it pops out as a level 4, which is the default. Looks like I've also taken a bunch of hits, and we're more than half melees here, so we're in great shape, right? We're in great shape. But here, I'm pretty sure the one that we grabbed here was a level 5, so it's still, you know, the scaling, I think, or I should say the gear quality, the item quality, whatever, I think it's a little bit lower. It might be the same quality that you would get for free out of a chest. You know, it's not going to be anything amazing. It's not like you're going to drop a level 12 morning star in the clock tower or something like that, but it does the trick. It does the trick. So that's why I chose to do that here. I'm also going to grab the vampire killer, right? So off the bat, so we are, how far into the run are we? Not video time, but run time. We're 7 minutes. We just hit 7 minutes, and so far we've already had the Bible and we've had the rebound stone, so we can cross those two off our list. We have Morning Star, Maria's Cat, Holy Water, and now Vampire Killer. So I think that's 6. I think we got 6 items, almost half already, which is fantastic. You know, for a showcase like this, or for a viewer build, you know, when you get something online early, because again, like, you know, most of you folks know I don't do custom mode for viewer builds. I like to just let it roll, so that way when stuff pops in, it's exciting, right? Because you don't know what you're going to get. I do remember this area right here was really hairy. I think I might try to this is so bad. Obviously we make it through, obviously, but I think I'm going to heal here once I get this lead out of the way. I should heal. Look at this. This is so bad. There you go. And I'm using the extra attacks from the Morning Star. So if you, instead of just pressing the button to do that overhead swing, yeah, let's get some health. Let's get that malaise out of here. That was that was brutal. Instead of just doing that overhead swing, if you hold the button, the whip will kind of go out, and you can use your directional buttons to just sort of have it move side to side. So that's what I did. It pairs very well with melee, because all of those little hits are going to slow the enemies there. You're going to get slow stacks easy. You're going to get free status easy after you hit that 5th stack of slow. So melee is probably, I don't know, I think, I don't want to say perfect because nothing's perfect, but if I were to pick, I did pick. But if I were to say, hey, you can only have one mutation for this weapon, melee is the correct fit. So it was doing some decent work there, even though I was getting wrecked there. So but yeah, so we got it. So we got like I said, we got like 6 of the 7 items here. Going into a normal mode viewer request or viewer build, whatever you want to call it. It's really exciting when the pieces come together, right? And I've said this before, you know, there's, you know, Daniel's my, I joke with them about how his videos are my favorite TV show. So anyways, like, Daniel does a lot of custom builds, which is great. It's great because he's like, yo, I want to do this one thing, and it works out great. You know, some of his runs, especially like I guess you could call them like the comfortable runs, right? So we're talking like double Boys Axe or Pure Nil Firebrands or whatever. Like, getting those online super easy or super quick is great. You know, it's great. You know, but when I think about, I'm going back here for the Holy Water. There you go. Rebound Stone Showcase is over. when I think about when I want to build, make my builds, I really enjoy just being like, all right, well, what does the game have for us, right? What are we going to be presented with, and will it fit with the idea that I want here, or the build, the viewer build that we want? So when something does come together, for me, it just feels really good. It feels really good, right? And when you talk about custom mode, right? Modesto has done like literally hundreds. I think he did every item twice. He's got like 2, calls them seasons of custom mode, not viewer build, like item showcases. With Daniel, it's just like you get that on so quickly that like the run becomes its own thing right from the get-go, right? So it's less about the journey to get there, and it's more about the result, and that result gets stretched out for most of the video. But with this side, on the other side of the coin, it's the opposite, where the journey gets a little bit stretched out, and then the result ends up being closer to the end, or maybe it doesn't come together the way that we expect at all, right? So yeah, so I guess long story short, shout out to Daniel. Make more videos, dude. But yeah, so that's the vibe here. So not doing custom mode, only using normal mode, seeing what pops up. That's really fun for me. I like doing that in other games too. So with Hades, most of the time when I do a run, I take a neutral keepsake at the beginning, right? So keepsakes are these items that can, you can take certain ones to get boons from certain gods, right? You can take Zeus's keepsake and you're guaranteed a Zeus boon. You can do things like that to sort of sway the run, where you'd be like, similar to one of Daniel's builds where he's like, hey, I want pure nail. I can be like, hey, I want Demeter on my attack, and then I take that, and then that's it, right? When I play Hades, I like to just see what happens. So I usually don't take a god keepsake at the beginning. I want to see what the game gives me. So I'll take a neutral one. I'll take extra money. I'll take extra damage on items that don't have any boons on them. Like, just stuff like that, just to see how things go. Because for me, it's like, I love the RNG. And speaking of RNG, we are, we just got ourselves a cursed artifact. We got 20 curse for 10,000 bucks. It is not a Philosopher's Stone by any stretch of the word, but it can be a nice little extra bump, especially if you get it early on, right? So we're in Cursed Prison Depths. Cursed Prison Depths is probably the two that word that word in this biome together in the same sentence is probably one of the worst things that you could ever say to someone in Dead Cells. Like, hey, do you like Cursed Prison Depths? It's like, no. Like, if someone said that to me in Discord or over DM, like I would respond with the skull emoji. It's bad. It's bad. I think the only thing worse than Cursed Prison Depths is Cursed Castle Outskirts. But hey, here we are. We gotta, for me, I only got that one extra scroll. I did want to take the take the optional biome. Sometimes I'll skip it, if I get a couple cursed chests or a couple challenge rifts off the bat, but I didn't want to do that here. I wanted to make sure that we went through it, so here we go. The benefits of cursed biomes is you have items that are of higher quality in the shops and in the chests, and also I think except for Promenade, I think every biome has you can get a higher stat amulet. So if you got toxic sewers, so here it's 3 instead of 2. If you go toxic sewers, you'll get 3 instead of 2, etc. So it does have benefits, but man, Prison Depths is hard. Similar to what I was just saying about Castle Outskirts, like the scaling is a little high for early game, so Prison Depths can be a little bit of a challenge, especially as you're still kind of getting your build online. So we're here. We took the first curse. We took a couple of curses from Sore Losers, and now I'm going to look at this Vampire Killer. You can see there the items are level 9, so that's actually quite good. But we, what was I just going to say? Yeah, we took a couple of curses. We took the main curse, and then we took the cursed artifact. So I think overall, you can go back and count. If you'd like, you can go back and count. But I think our total curse count was maybe like 35, give or take. And you can see I'm actually, despite the fact that this is a really rough biome, or it can be early on, despite the fact that cursed enemies are here and it's making there we go, we got 5 more, 2 more, 1 more. Despite the fact that all this stuff is happening, we have a 68 going on 70 kill streak at this point. So I have not taken a hit yet. So overall, this has been a very successful, there it is. There's our first hit. Okay, so we are no longer we're no longer counting our kill streak here. But this is a very successful prison depths. Let's take it, right? Let's chalk it up to a win. I'm gonna take Ossuary after here so I can go to death. Like I was saying earlier in the video, I get to focus on the things I like about the Return to Castlevania DLC, and I really enjoyed the death fight. I think it's in the death scythe. How's that? So there's another one that we're not going to take. I think you could see me sort of think about it for a second, where I kind of like went in there. What I should have done going back on this here, I should have grabbed it just to use it a little bit in the Ossuary, you know, but I didn't, unfortunately. So that's another item we're not going to use. Hindsight's 2020, of course, right? But we're going to go through the Ossuary here, so that way I can skip to the death fight without needing to go through Dracula's castle. So that's a win. That's a win. We're gonna do that. We're gonna enjoy it. And let's talk about what we got here. So I picked up I think we got bleeding on everything. This is an open wounds. I already took open wounds. It's perfect. I'm pretty sure we have bleeding on everything. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do here. And I decide to take No Mercy, definitely skip and bank here because we want to do Ossuary. And I feel like Ossuary is kind of like a cool Castlevania-ish biome, right? Same thing with the Promenade, thinking of like the first level of Rondo of Blood. A little bit of similarities there, maybe. You know, Ossuary going through a crypt. Definitely got like that sort of gothic Castlevania vibe to it, you know. But I think we have bleeding on every item. So we're going to get an additional 60% damage after that first hit. Using the Morning Star, again, like I was saying, it's very good with melee, but it's also very good with open wounds, so that way you can get that bleed stack on there pretty quick. The additional hits are going to get additional bleed stacks, so it'll proc quicker. You're going to get more damage over time with that pop, etc. So we're good. And that's also, yeah, look at that bleed. Oh, it's beautiful. It's so beautiful when you get like, when you have something that you want to sync up and it just like everything just lines up. It's so beautiful. I love it. So no matter what, if I use either of my melee items, if I stomp, when you stomp down, it's a melee attack, so you can trigger open wounds with it. It will trigger Killer Instinct for cooldown. If you have that, it will trigger, Predator. So any sort of melee attack is going to give us bleed, and then we're going to get plus 60 no matter what else we use. The reason why I took No Mercy is because we're going to get extra dot here. So we have Flame. Looks like we have Burning Oil. I think the cat might do oil, but we have Burning, we have Burning Oil, and we have Bleed. So with No Mercy, you know, I see a handful of people. It's actually more than a handful of people. I'll see them take No Mercy with like survival builds that don't have any damage over time, or you know, into a boss with, again, something like a brutality build that doesn't have any status effects. And I feel like that, like you can see here, a lot of enemies are getting executed fairly quickly with open wounds here, or excuse me, with No Mercy. But like if you take it without any damage over time, I feel like it's not really doing anything, right? So let me put on my math hat that is probably going to have incorrect information in it, like it always does. But the way that I look at it is, it's almost like if you take open wounds with damage over time, not most of the time, but a lot of the time, what's going to happen is that damage over time is going to tick. I'm going to grab that flask. Since we did have the cursed artifact, we have an extra 10k, so we could afford the flask, right? If I didn't, we would not have been able to afford that yet, and I'd have to go through more of the levels. So that actually helped. So if you think about damage over time, you know, it's going to tick down whatever the values is, right? It's not going, you know, 99%, 98%, whatever, but it's going to start to tick down. So there's that no mercy threshold that sits at 15%. So if you think of an enemy's health bar with like a line at that 15% mark, the damage over time is going to have that line move more in like a solid or more like consistently, right? So it's not like it's going to do 10% and then your next hit's going to do 5% and then your next hit's going to do 20%. That's a mimic low room. That's why I stopped there for a second. So basically it's going to slowly, not slowly, but it's gonna the line of full health down to 15% health, it's gonna move, and when it hits that threshold, the enemy's gonna die. So with damage over time, you're gonna get to that threshold in a more consistent way. If you don't, let's say you just have, like, let's talk about Bible, right? We have a Bible, we have no status effects on it, and we're doing enemy damage. It's just doing chunks, right? So it might do that. It might go, as you hit enemies, it might go from 100% down to 70%, down to 40% or whatever it is. But like a lot of times that those hits without the damage over time is going to surpass that 15% threshold, right? So you might go from an enemy health from 30 down to 5%. So you're getting that no mercy early death, but like it comes like at a later point than I feel like it should have. So to me, it's just a small amount of HP reduction at that point versus getting additional damage on enemy. So long story short, as always, if you have damage over time, right? So this is what we're doing. We have our, again, we got open wounds from our mutation. When enemies are slowed after 5 hits from melee, they're going to take some, do they take damage? No, they just freeze. I'm sorry. But again, we have the bleed, we get the burn, we have burning oil, etc. So that's really helpful. And one of my favorite open wounds style builds is you take tactics, right? You take tactics, you take point blank with like an electric whip, you take networking, and you just allow that damage over time to just go nuts. It's so good. It's so good. You just let it roll. You're flying through everything. Everything's getting shock DOT, which from the electric whip, it will shock will spread between enemies in general, which is nice. And then if you have networking, all of the enemies that you hit with your ranged items are going to share damage. So like you start to pile that stuff on. It's just so good. It's just so good. So if you like, and now listen, if you just like to take no mercy because it's one of those mutations that you don't have to think about, that's one of the benefits of it is, especially if you do have a survival build or whatever. It's like, I find that trying to pick a mutation outside of the normal, where I'm like, oh, hey, here's cool, I have necromancy, I have what doesn't kill me, and now what? No mercy is just like a nice mutation that you don't have to think about. But if you do, I do recommend thinking about it in the way where it's like you're going to get more of a ROI, you're going to get more of a return on your mutation and your investment or whatever if you take it with damage over time. And I'm not deterring anyone from taking whatever they want. Listen, that's the vibe. I've said that from day one, basically, is, do what you want. But just statistically, no mercy does perform better when you have some kind of damage over time. And that's my, what do the kids say these days? That's my TED. Thanks. Welcome. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. How's that? But yeah, so we took no mercy. It's doing good work. Again, bleed, burn, whatever it is. And we also have the vampire killer. So vampire killer is another item that is it's a heavy weapon that does criticals on burning enemies, and enemies that are killed by it will burn. So basically, no matter what happens, and I used the wrong whip there. I was just going to say, because it's a whip, it will kill you can hit the spinies with it. The spiny almost just hit me. You can hit the spiny with it and it won't actually do damage to you. So that's one of the benefits of having a whip. I think the same thing happens for wrenching whip. It does not happen from Morningstar, as I think you folks may have just noticed there. But whenever you kill an enemy with the vampire killer, it will burn the ground, which is great because then you can get criticals on other enemies. I love, similar to like the Simlance or the Ice Crossbow, I really love the vampire killer specifically here. because you have those spawners, right? You got those tubes that are spitting out all those little bugs. These things, right? I know they're called corpse juice, which I think is really funny. I used to watch a streamer who would parry everything, and I still remember this quote to this day. It was showcasing the bloodthirsty shield, and he was parrying corpse juices, and he said, "We parry corpse juices up in this bitch." I've never forgotten that. I also don't parry them, but I think about that quote sometimes because I feel like it's just really funny. But anyways, when those enemies count too, so if you hit a corpse juice with the vampire killer, it's gonna burn. The other little buggos that are out there are gonna burn too. Like, let's see if I do it here. I'm actually gonna use Maria's cat. But things will burn, so I like it. It's like a nice way to use that item there. So, but yeah, vampire kill is really strong. You know, similar like we were saying with Bible, it is tactics scaling too, and I don't like agree with it. I really don't like that, because I feel like with Bible there's an argument for why. There's an argument for why it's tactics scaling. Like I was saying, Point Blank works great with that, right? So it feels appropriate, but with Vampire Killer, like it does not have any ranged bonuses or, you know, mechanics or anything like that. So I think maybe because like firebrands and some other things. Oh, there we go. And we got a mimicked Maria's cat in a cursed biome. So I think this might be a level 11 afterwards. Was that a level 11? I didn't even see. Yeah, it's a level 11 and it has bleed on it. All right, so we're good. So that item slot is locked in. We have end game quality item in before the first boss. So we're locked in. It's beautiful. That's so beautiful. Again, you know, thinking about the difference between a custom run and a, what do you call it? A normal run. It's exciting. We just got a natural bleeding affix on a mimicked Maria's cat in a curse biome. That's fantastic. It's so fantastic. But yeah, Vampire Killer as tactics and brutality, like, I don't know if I vibe with it. I feel like it would be better suited for brutality and survival. And I'm wondering too if, you know, because there are a lot of other brutality / survival things. I mean, I'm thinking about Alucard's sword and shield. I'm thinking about the two skills that I have here. I wonder if they just wanted to mix it up a little bit. But either way, if you're going to take this, I recommend taking it with brutality, because again, there's no real benefit to taking it with the tactics build. You're not going to get anything special there, like, you know, Bible point blank damage, like whatever. It's just not going to happen. So Vampire Killer owns. It's so good. Just make sure you take it with a brutality build. That's my vibe. And we're going into the death fight here. So I'm gonna take a moment. I got my mug. I'm gonna take a moment to sip my coffee here. We'll let the fight play out for just a little bit. All right, so Death is definitely my favorite boss from the DLC. So good, so good. I feel like it's a great balance of like, hey, do you remember this guy from all these Castlevania games? With the addition of it being, you know, I don't want to say it's simple, because it's not. You know, we have these sights here. There's, you know, Death has like several attacks that, like this one here, can be a little bit tricky to dodge. But like, I feel like as far as the types of bosses that I love this in Souls games too, where like the bosses have varied attack patterns that are very readable, right? Because sometimes you fight a boss, there's just so much stuff going on. It's like, you know, when you're playing Elden Ring, I think I might take a couple of big hits here. Let's see, does it happen? Yep, there it is. So yeah, it takes several hits back to back to back after a very successful. It's like Think of No Mercy. The first 85% of the fight was great, and the last 15% I almost got owned. But, you know, you think of a game like Elden Ring where every boss has like 10 attacks, and depending on where you're standing, they might do something different and this and that. I think Death is a great boss in general. I think it has a great position as the first boss, right? So that way, as your build is starting to come online or continue to be online, like I feel like it's a nice challenge, but like the patterns and the tells and all of that stuff, it just makes it like a really enjoyable fight. Really enjoyable fight. So we made it through, and yeah, the fights, fighting. The run's a little sloppy. Run is a little bit sloppy. You know, we're having some really good luck, again, with our item drops, with our shops. But I feel like the run's a little bit sloppy here. So we were going into the mid game of the game here, right? So we're starting to decide, you know, where does this run want to go? Where do we want to take it here? I'm pretty sure I go Stilt, and I'm taking a long time to figure out what I want to do here. Right, so we get, okay, so that's it. Okay, so I'm taking Tainted Flask here so I can sip, and then, yeah, we're going Stilt. Taking Tainted Flask so I can sip, and then as I kill more elites, the flasks will come back. I think we're at a point where it's like you have to kill 7 or 8 elites or whatever it is, and the flask will refill, so that way I get to save 20,000 bucks on every flask, right? Because there's a food shop here. And then the next food shop is in the 5EC spoiler biome. So technically, I do have 2 places to buy flasks, but it's going to cost me 40,000 gold if I decide to do that. So I would much rather take Tainted Flask. It's a very good mutation in general as well. But like that one mutation, if I choose to re-roll it, it's only going to cost me 2,000. So we're saving. I don't know what the math is here. Is it 5%? It's only at 5% of what I normally would pay if I had to take 2 flasks. So that's why I took Tainted Flask. Super good. I also opted to take Gastronomy as a, what do you call it? As some safety, right? So my food's going to have additional 85% healing to it. So I feel like I say this all the time. I think the small food goes up to 25% and the big food goes up to 83%, I think. So I wanted to take that just for some extra. Oh, this is weird too. There was a lore room inside a lore room. It was super weird. It's like a lore room, loreception or whatever. And I just wanted to see what was in here. It's just a regular stilt lore room here. But yeah, I think I was just talking about Tainted Flask. Oh yeah, so I took Gastronomy just for that extra safety, because like I said, you know, this run's been kind of sloppy. I'm taking a bunch of hits here, which I think is actually really funny because my best biome so far has been the Cursed Prison Depths. So it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, if I ever start to doubt myself and be like, oh, this run's a mess, just be like, hey man, you almost flawless Cursed Prison Depths. Like, give yourself a break, dude. Give yourself a break. But I also, you know, could have taken Predator instead, and I think maybe I didn't because I wanted to, I don't think challenge is the right word, but like, you know, I wanted to engage with the enemies because Predator is so strong. Getting that, at this point, it would have been like 2.2 or 2.5 seconds of invisibility. Like, it's just super strong. So I think I just wanted to engage with the enemies a little bit more. So I chose not to take that. Doing a little bit of rolling here in the shop, just in case. Did not find anything that I wanted. And, you know, thinking about the other items that are in the kit that we haven't gotten to yet. We have both Alucard Sword, Alucard Shield. We have the Bat Volley, which is a skill that I don't love. I took that food there. I was below 50% health, so that's fine. Oh, we have Valmont's Whip here too. So this is not. Now, if you look here, look at that item. Look at the sprite for Valmont's Whip. So if you have a Castlevania outfit on, or I think it's one of the Belmonts, right? So Trevor, Simon, I don't think Alucard has it, but if you have one of like the old school Castlevania outfits on, and you grab Valmont's Whip, it changes the sprite of the item. So instead of having the normal Valmont's Whip, now we have a Morningstar style whip that has the same effect as Valmont. Yeah, so it crits at the end. So technically not a Return to Castlevania DLC item because it performs the exact same way as Valmont's Whip, but it's a cool little thing. It's like a cool little bonus. You know, shout out to Evil Empire for overthinking everything and having references so on point. But I think, you know, what we have left is we have both Alucard's items. We have Bat Volley, and we have Whip Sword. And I think that might be it. I think that might be it. As far as the other stuff that we do not have in our kit yet, which we don't have in our kit yet. ... Right. But, you know, seeing as we're at Stilt, you know, we got through the first boss. We still have, what do we have? We got like 1, 2, 3, 4. I think we have 3 biomes and 3 bosses left or something like that. Considering that we're only like halfway through the run and just about halfway through the video, we're in great shape. We're in great shape here. So where I am, I don't know if this happens to anyone else. It probably does, but like my mind, sometimes it just goes, right? It's almost like one of those like little toys that you wind up, and then it's like the chattering teeth. It's like the little toy that you wind up, and then the teeth just kind of go. They just kind of like go across and they move on their own. Sometimes my brain does that. So it is early. It is so early. So I started recording this at 5:45 a.m., which is not my time. It is not my time. I sleep late. Like for me, it's like my normal wake up time, no alarm or whatever. It's like 9 a.m. So I was up early. My brain was just wound up. Those chattering teeth just like moving across the table on their own. And I was just like trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my day, because once I'm up, right? And I actually have to get up early today for other stuff anyways. So like my alarm was set for like 7:30. So I'm like, all right, I got like 2 hours. What do I want to do? And I've had this on my to-do list for a while here. And I figured, hey, let's just wake up and start talking. So we have ourselves early morning DG. I don't think my brain is completely come online yet, but we're doing it. It's also why my voice was a little bit lower this morning, because I still have like morning voice too, which I think is super funny. But yeah, it's super early here. I was worried about the mic picking up birds because in the morning there's a lot of birds that like chirp outside. It drives me a little bit nuts, but I think we're good. I think we're good between my noise gate and the game sounds and me constantly talking. I think we're in good shape. So overall, that was a very successful Stilt Village. We made it through with 78 kills, so we're getting the 60 door here, which is fantastic. And I opted to come into Clock Tower because every Castlevania, not every, but I'm going to say every is the, you know, every asterisk, but every game has a Clock Tower in it. That's like part of like the ethos. That's part of the Castlevania vibe. Oh, and the Valmont also has bonus to bleeding on it. That's so good. That's so good. But every Castlevania game has some sort of Clock Tower or Clock Tower adjacent level in it. So I'm like, well, we have to go Clock Tower. It's like you can't not go to Clock Tower. You know, I prefer Sepulcher generally because that way we can just skip right to Giant, right to Hand of the King. But this is great because I feel like it fits the vibe, and we're getting some good burn there. We have a legendary shrapnel axes. So if this were a non-viewer build, right? So if I wasn't rocking this based on RPGesus's recommendation, I probably would have taken those shrapnel axes. I feel like they're like sneaky good. They're sneaky good. I feel like there's so many good. All right, and we're gonna get rid of the Morning Star again. That's like level 5 quality or whatever it was. I feel like there are so many good options, brutality and tactics, that the shrapnel axes just kind of like get forgotten about, or they get recycled a lot, you know? So I want it, and normally I would have grabbed them. So we get Bat Volley here, which also has bonus to bleeding on it. So I'm not going to recycle that holy water. No way. So my plan here is to use Bat Volley so I can talk about it and talk about how mid it is, and then go back to the holy water and take that out of here. Am I gonna recycle the holy water? Dude, don't do it. Don't do it. Oh, man. Past self, what are you doing? Maybe I'm committing. Maybe I'm just committing to it because I'm already like, hey, I've done holy water for a while. So, bat volley. So, imagine, you don't have to imagine because this is what it is. But think about Death Orb, right? Death Orb is a great survival skill that will go across the level, similar to that. It kind of just goes horizontally. It does great damage as it makes its way across. Bat volley does like the same thing, but worse. So basically, yeah, you can see here the damage isn't great. The arc in which the bats come out, sort of like that sine wave, sometimes they miss enemies. Like sometimes you'll see some of the bats like go over like that. Well, actually, I think those bats might have hit it because the Ovenite was bigger. But in general, like the damage isn't always consistent. I'm probably already looking for another holy water, being like, come on, man, get me out of here. Get me out of here, please. No, no, not now. Oh. Am I gonna? Okay, I decided to recycle that because, like I said, we already have an endgame cat. We don't need that one. But the damage isn't great. I don't love the arc of it, and the worst part of it is when you use the skill, you actually get planted for. It's not a long time, technically. What is it, like a quarter of a second or a third of a second or whatever it is, half a second, but. When you open your cape, when that cape opens and the bats start to come out, everything, you can't move. Like, you can't cancel it. You can't jump out of it. You can't use another item. So it's almost like at that point, as all three of those items had bleeding on it too. That's so sick. As the bats start to come out, like, you are stuck. So unfortunately, there you go. Like, you can see there, until the cape opening animation is done, you can't move there. So the way that I would, or I should use, sick dodge. The way that I would recommend using bat volley is don't just like stand there and open the cape. So I've done that here to showcase it. Personally, like, if I do take bat volley, the best way, yeah, see, I had some damage there, some distance, so it's not too bad. But I love using it like as I'm falling, right? So imagine like there's a platform below me. I know that I have like whatever that is, a third of a second, half a second, as you know, that I'm gonna get stuck there. Knowing that, like, I can use it as I'm dropping down, and then whatever amount of time that I'm stuck in the air is when that sort of animation freeze happens. So I'm not actually putting myself at as much danger. Like I just said, the damage of Bat Valley, it's whatever. It's nothing to write home about. But the crit condition is that if the bats pass through one enemy, any enemy that it hits after that will do crit. It will. Yeah. See, I just got stuck there. I couldn't turn around. Any enemy that it passes through after that is going to take critical damage. So if you have two enemies in a row and use the bat volley at a distance, I've done that several times here so far. It'll pass through that first. It'll do crits on the second enemy. The crits aren't fantastic. It's not like if you get everything lined up and you do it, it's going to be this amazing buzzsaw of bats that just shred through everything. It's just sort of like, yeah, the damage is fine. So for me, the not direction, but the pattern of the bat attack, the damage, both normally and crits, and the fact that you kind of get planted there for that half second or whatever, it makes Bat Volley not a strong item, in my opinion. I think Valmont also has, Valmont has burn on kill too, so we have ourselves some nice burning synergy. I'm not using the Vampire Killer as much. Valmont's whip is snappier, right? It's a little bit quicker. I enjoy it. I think it's a great one. And like I said, Vampire Killer's super good, but I think because I was using Vampire throughout the Ossuary, with the death fight and all that stuff, I think I'm just shredding with Valmont's because it's so cool. I also don't take these Castlevania outfits often. It's it's kind of a weird thing because these outfits in particular, so the, you know, all the, not the Death and Dracula outfits or whatever it is, but the, you know, the Trevor outfit, the Sypha outfit, Maria outfit, all that stuff, they actually make noises when you get hit. So it's kind of, it's like a weird thing to adjust to. So I normally don't take these outfits, but that's just to say that I normally don't, what do you call it? I'm just trying to think about what I just did. I normally don't take these outfits, so I normally don't see that Valmont's Whip alternate. There you go. I'm just swinging it around. So I wanted to do that too. So why did I do what I just did? So I was able to get a flask back from Tainted Flask. The math of the food versus the flask, I think my health was at below that 15% threshold. It was at 60, 70, whatever percent it was. I decided to recycle the food for the gastronomy bonus, you know, 18% for 5 minutes or whatever it is, because I know I'm going to get another flask back from Tainted Flask at some point. So I figured let's spend the flask, get the healing. That's going to be more than the food, and then get the food for damage output. So that's what I decided to do as we come into the Timekeeper fight here. Timekeeper with melee is no shield melee is challenging to say. And there we go. Look at that. I tried to use Batfall and yeah, I got tagged. And I think at this point, I'm just saying, all right, man, I put in my time. We did everything we could. Yeah, I'm going to get owned here too. Yeah. So I'm just like, I'm ready to get rid of Batfall at this point. So I do think we get another holy water, and I think that's how we roll here. Also using Tainted Flask to get some health back here, and it also does a damage bonus. I forget what the percentage is. This is a very bad Timekeeper fight. I think the damage bonus at this point is like 70% or something, so we're going to get ourselves some extra damage here. And reflecting on my choice, what I should have done is recycled that food, came in here and drank the flask right before I went into the Timekeeper room, so I'd have like a little bit of extra damage as we came in here. A little bit of min-maxing, but I feel like that would have been helpful. And now we're leaving time. Oh, I missed a scroll fragment? Bro. That's a shame. We're probably not going to get 3. We're probably not going to get 3 more. I think there's only 2 in Hype Castle, whatever. But man, that's a shame. But yeah, with Tainted Flask, we get ourselves some extra damage. That was a very, it's not embarrassing. It's just an experience. It is what it is. But that was a very bad Timekeeper fight. So we ended up burning 2 flasks, right? We burned 1 before we went in there, and we burned 1 while we were in there. So it's not great, but if we're gonna zoom out and we think about the recharge of the flask. So again, I think at this point, you know, we're at 26 stats. It's either 4 or 5 elites. I can't remember exactly what it is. But in Hype Castle, we are going to see at least, there's going to be more than 4 elites. Do we get the whip sword here? Yeah, there we go. Boom. So we got whip sword. It's got damage to bleed on it, of course. But we're going to have at least 4 elites, right? So we have the blue door has 1, the green door has 1, and the red door has 2. So there are also just natural elites, you know, so coming on 4 and 5 BC, you're going to see a handful of those in every level. So there might be like, what, maybe 2? But Tainted Flask also generates an additional elite per level. So we're at least going to get 1 flask back. We may get 2. Yeah, using Bat Volley from all the way across the water there because I don't want to get stuck. But I think we're going to get at least 1 of those flasks back there. So that is a positive. That's a positive there. So speaking of other positives, we have ourselves Whip Sword. So this is another, as you can see, another brutality only item from the Castlevania DLC. It's a 2-handed item. I think it might be a reference to Aria of Sorrow or Dawn of Sorrow. It's not like when I first found this, I was like, wait, what? Vampire Killer, Rebound Stone, Bible, you know, Alucard stuff, like that's all pretty Maria, you know, all the other stuff is pretty self-explanatory, but this one I was like, wait a second, like I'm not too familiar with this. So I think it is a Soma Cruz reference, right? Aria Sorrow, Dawn of Sorrow. I think one of the GBA or DS games, I'm not positive, but it's a two-handed item, and it does exactly what you would expect. It's a whip and it's a sword. That's it. That's it. You want a whip? You got a whip. You want a sword? Press the other button. You got yourself a sword. So when you press that button, the transform button, it actually does a little bit of damage around you when you do it. I think there's like this little sweep type attack. But whenever you change the items, you'll get criticals for like, and here we go, we get another elite here. Whenever you change the way that the item attacks, you're going to get yourself criticals for like a second and a half. So damage wise, it would be smart to kind of like flip back and forth between the two. And then again, you have this sort of close counter sword attack. You have a little bit more of a distanced, ranged / melee attack from the whip. But another thing you can do is you can just use the sword and that's it, and just shred. Modesto did that a lot when he would use whip sword. He really enjoys whip sword, so you could just turn on the sword part and just shred. I personally prefer to go back and forth between the two. I feel like, you know, it's a very versatile item. It's fun, and, you know, kind of like playing that little rhythm game, right, of, you know, flipping back and forth every few seconds to get those crits and to change the attack and all that stuff. I really do enjoy that. But I think whip sword is very solid. I think it's solid. Again, you know, you're giving up that second slot that you might have used for a secondary. There we go, tainted flask, we got one back. It's something that you might give up, right? You might give up your shield slot, you might give up your secondary, and of course, you know, you can throw shield in the backpack, do whatever, but it does put you a little bit more risk. But I think the damage on this is great. You know, as far as both, that's really funny. So I opened those doors and I jumped to be like, hey, we're going to Dracula. Spoiler, we're not. I think both the normal damage and that sort of back and forth crit damage, they're both really good. I think they're both really good. So from a damage perspective, it's very strong. From a mechanics perspective, I think it's put together really well. And then from a fun perspective, it's just a really fun weapon. So I feel like whip sword is, again, it's another one that, like, sometimes you might see it and just be like, I don't know. I don't know. There's like all this stuff. There we go. I'm already panicking saying with the bat volley there, am I going to get hit? Answer's no. But it's another one of those things where it just might get lost, right? Because you're like, oh, I have all these other cool things. I have Alucard sword, I get Vampire Killer, I get, you know, Depth Scythe or whatever. But whip sword is very good. So if you do have the Castlevania DLC, or if you don't have it and you are lucky enough to have a natural legendary drop where it pops up in the game, definitely try it out. Take some time, try it out, you know, take it for a few biomes, you know, kick the tires, see how it feels. But I feel like it's a very fun and a very strong item. And I feel like that sort of statement, if you want to call it that, in another elite, this is beautiful. I feel like that sort of vibe is the best thing to say about the Castlevania DLC, is that it's like, yeah, it's a fun, it's a strong item, right? So again, focusing on all the things I like about the DLC. We did not go to Outskirts. We did not go to Dracula's Castle on either of the opportunities that we had. And as I was playing this, I said to myself, hey, we're going to go Dracula. Again, like I did that little jump by the door to be like, hey, this is where we're going. We don't go there. Not on purpose. Not on purpose. Basically, you know, I've gone from High Peak to Hand of the King. Dude, I don't know how many hundreds of times I've done that over the past 7 years. That's it. I've done it so often that it's almost like, it's not almost, I have muscle memory, right? I just have this muscle memory where, like, I go to Hand of the King. So even though I'm sitting here saying, oh, another big hit, even though I'm sitting here being like, all right, man, we're gonna do Dracula, we're gonna finish this off appropriately, you know, with the Castlevania items, we don't. The good news, without spoiling too much, is it all works out. It all works out. It works out for the best. Just as I get that large food there, which is also super helpful. It works out for the best. We'll talk about that in the 5BC biome when we get there. but we got ourselves an experience that we would not have gotten if I did go to Dracula. So let's check that off. Another thing on the list, let's check it off. Bad decision, accidental bad decision that worked out. Check, right? And we're just wrapping up here. So again, Whipsword's been doing great. Of course, you know, took a couple hits here. Like I was saying, you know, it could be just general sloppy play that I've also showcased here. I feel like that's the real showcase. Could just be like some sloppy play, just like that. Or, you know, not having that secondary from the Whipsword and just kind of like bouncing back and forth, leave myself a little bit more open for that sloppy play. I don't know, could be one or the other, but either way, you know, we're just wrapping up here. We don't get the 60 door, but I think it's fine. I think that's fine. I feel like at this point we don't really need it because we do have, you know, we have Endgame Maria's Cat. Whipsword's really good. And again, you know, we're only really focusing on the Dracula items here, or the Castlevania items. So I might be like, hey, we just got the 60 door. We got Rebound Stoned again. I'm not going to use it. I might be like, hey, great. I really went out of my way to get the 60 door, and now I'm going to go in here and recycle it. I think someone said, I think it might have been CoastTube, that someone made that comment before, and I've never forgotten it, where you talk about holy water. Let's go. Get out of here. Thank you, Bat Volley. Peace. I looked at it for a second. I'm like, don't buy it again. But the idea of basically we fight for our lives to get that 60 door so we can go in there and recycle whatever it is. It's just so funny. I think it's so funny. But we do have a weapon shop here. I think I'm just going to double back to see what else comes up. I think we might get a blood. Yeah, so I think I'm going to grab this shield. You can see I'm really thinking about it here because I'm saying, all right, the shield is not a Castlevania item, but I want a shield. So what I'm hopeful for is, I think I might recycle this. Yeah, what I'm hopeful for is an Alucard's shield, which we don't get. So the vibe here is, again, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go through that third door. I recommend always getting all 3 keys so you can get the extra scroll in here, a little bit of extra cash going into the final reroll of the game or going into getting ready to go into 5EC. So I come in here, I get the items, and I don't even think about this. Watch how quick I go. I'm like, all right, did I miss anything on the map? Nope, I'm good. And I go, yoop. And then at this point, I remember playing, and I took a big breath. I was like, oh no. But at this point, I was like, well, I gotta finish the run. I'm not gonna not finish it, right? So I keep all my mutations here. So am I gonna reroll? I am gonna reroll. No, I'm not. I'm thinking about it. Dude, just roll with it. Let's go. Let's go. Don't reroll your mutations. Look at this. There's a reason for this. Okay. So when you re-roll your mutations, even if you take Tainted Flask off and put it back on, it resets your elite kill counter. So I think that's what I was thinking about. I was like, all right, well, I could go into the spoiler biome and get more flasks, but I chose not to because we're at the end of the run here. I was like, all right, well, let's take Disengagement, we'll take Open Wounds, and we'll take Vengeance in case I do take a hit or 2 or 8 or 9 or whatever it is. So Accidental Hand of the King fight. Accidental Hand of the King fight. I'm going to sip a little bit more coffee. Let's see how this one goes. So it goes, but it goes slow. And why? Right? Why is this fight so slow? If you look at my scrolls, I do not have a good scroll count here. So we want like 30. I mean, personally, I feel more comfortable coming into Hand of the King with like 31 or 32. We only have 28. And that fight wasn't terrible. That was decent enough. We only have 28 scrolls, so we're missing out on 3 or 4 compared to my average. And we're going into 5BC biome here. If you don't want to see the biome, now's a good chance to peace out. I think that's why I stopped there. If you do leave, thanks for hanging out. If you don't, we're going to keep on rolling. but we're missing out on 3 or 4 additional 15% multiplicative damage scrolls. That just means we're missing out on like a lot of damage. We're missing, so it's almost like as you get into the late game, it's like those last 4 or 5 scrolls are more important than the first 4 or 5 because of how much extra damage they give you. So unfortunate, but we have what we have, right? So we're going into there we go. I'm going to put the shield in the backpack so we can continue to focus on the Castlevania items. So we're going into the 5BC biome with maybe 4 scrolls less than I would have wanted, right? Our health is phenomenal though. What do we have? 17,000? We get 17,000 hit points or whatever. Like that's pretty wild here. That's pretty wild. So as far as mutations go, I talked a lot about Tainted Flask, and let's talk about why I didn't take it here. So what I did, again, this was a surprise. This was an accidental 5BC biome visit, right? So I took this by surprise. So for me, as I'm thinking about like my past few biomes, just kind of like reflecting on how I've been playing and what else has been going on here, it hasn't been great, right? So again, aside from that banging prison depths with the curse and the additional cursed enemies and the what do you call them, the cursed artifact or whatever it is, aside from that, like the play has just been moderate at best is what I would say. And hey, look, we got more health. So I decided to take Predator, right? Like I was saying earlier, Predator is so strong. You're going to get that extra almost 3 seconds of invisibility every time you kill an enemy. And I stop myself whenever I talk about Predator. If you've heard me talk about it before, you might notice that I say the word invisibility like slower. And I think it was because one of my videos, it may have been my tier list, I said invincibility. And someone was like, hey man, it's actually invisibility. I knew what I wanted to say, but I used the wrong word. So now every time I hear it, every time I say it nice and slow. But that extra 2.8% of invisibility is so strong. It's so good, especially like here. You can see like from the slammer there, I got the extra invisibility, which allowed me to just go through that librarian. There you go. The slammer gets de-aggroed. It's so strong. So again, since this was like a surprise, I just wanted to get through. I was like, all right, we're gonna get through the run. We're gonna make it as easy. We're gonna make it as easy as possible. Got ourselves a bad dual stat there, so we got even more health. What is this? What do we got? Almost 22,000 health. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. That is like a little bit higher than normal survival health at this point, which I think is really funny. Again, terrible stat spread, but we got enough health to make it through. Personally, I would choose DPS over health, 9 days out of 10. But we got what we got here. So another reason, talking about Tainted Flask, I did not take it going in here because I would have had enough for an additional flask, thinking about just, how I want to spend the rest of the run. And we got another bad dual stat. So what are we looking at here? We're going to have like 23,000. What are we bumping up to here? 22.5. What is it? Oh my God, it's 24,000 health. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So we have ourselves a huge chunk. We got ourselves a huge chunk of health here. But with Tainted Flask, I could have taken it in here. We would have had enough elites to get that final flask back. But for me, it was more important to take Predator. It was more important for me to continue to get that extra damage bonus from open wounds, and also to have that additional safety of gastronomy. Because again, like I said, my gameplay here has been moderate at best. Unimpressive and moderate at best, right? This was actually really sick. We got Wrenching Whip here. It's not a Castlevania item, but if you look, all 3 of those sprites are basically the same template. So E-Whip is a little bit different, but Valmont, Vampire Killer, and Wrenching Whip all have like the same sort of sprite template, which I think is really funny. And here we go. So this is the accident, right? So we hop into the shop and we get Alucard Sword, and I'm like, oh, this is great. This is great. I really wanted to showcase this. And I'm like living on a prayer here. I'm like, maybe we can get Alucard Shield. And what do? We get Alucard Shield. So here we go. So if I did not accidentally come into the Astral Lab here, we would not have seen Alucard Sword and Alucard Shield. So this worked out so well. It worked out so well. No regrets. No regrets. Again, big mistake. If we went to Dracula, the run would be over. Run would be over. Be like, all right, man. Here's the whip sword. We did good. Thanks for watching. Thanks thanks RPGesus. That would have been it. But we got ourselves into the best, in my opinion. This is the best possible situation to end the run on, because I think that we got every single brutality or brutality scaling item from the DLC. So for me, and again, we also did Rebound Stone. We also did the Bible at the beginning. So for me, it's a win. We didn't do Death Scythe. We didn't do Throwing Axes. We didn't do Cross. We didn't do Medusa's Head. I could have taken that Death Scythe from the Ossuary to at least, showcase a little bit, but I didn't. So as far as how this run could have ended, this is the perfect final build, in my opinion. So we're good. We don't need anything else. We're just going to cruise through the end here. We have ourselves left tower again, which is pretty rare. Normally the tower that you climb at the end of the biome is on the right hand side of the map, but we got on the left. Got ourselves a 60 door. Again, something I'm probably going to recycle immediately, but at least we got the door there. And we're just going to cruise. So I love the Alucard Sword and Shield reference to Symphony of the Night. That game is insane. Legitimately one of my top 5 games of all time. It's so good. But anyways, the main character Alucard, he has a sword. He has a shield. It's great because the sword, when you're at like mid to long range, it will teleport you in towards an enemy. The shield will, there you go. You can see how I just kind of been flipping around the screen there. The shield works like the Iron Staff, where basically you parry and it's almost like a melee attack. And when you have them both together, this is a unique mechanic with these two items. You won't see this with any other item, but it actually changes the decoration outside of these slots. So if you look down on the bottom there, both the Alucard sword and Alucard shield have like that sort of like fancy dressing around it, if you want to call it that, like fancy little decoration. That is so, it indicates that you have the set. And even though it's not a two-handed item, obviously it's like they are tied together, where you have like additional parry frames in between your attacks. So as you're swinging the sword, you might notice that the shield is kind of like bopping out in front of me too. You get free parries. So as you're using the sword, there's a chance that you could accidentally parry attack. That's gonna be super helpful for you. So. Love it. Love both of those items. I used to think Alucard shield was like decent. I love it. It's one of my favorite shields now. I just think it's really good. So we're in fantastic shape. And as we're finishing up here, so I came over here just to see if we could get, more enemies to get more gold, because I'm at that point here where I think my mutation rerolls are going to be, I think it's up to 4. How many times do we reroll? It might be up to 4 or 8,000. And I have to make a decision. Do I want to buy that last flask, or do I want to save my money for the rerolls? And as I'm thinking here, I think I might walk through the food shop, or maybe I'm just going to bounce. Yeah, I'm not even going to walk through the food shop. The decision that I'm trying to make here is like, is it more important for me to spend that 20,000 gold on a flask? Or is it more, I'm thinking, I'm like going to that food shop teleport. I think I might buy the big food, save myself. Yeah, so I'm going to buy the big food. I'm going to recycle the small food. Again, we're going to get that extra bonus from gastronomy, which is quite nice. But I was just trying to figure like, all right, what's more important? Is it more important to reroll and to have the option to change my mutations for this final fight, or is it more important for me to buy a flask? And I chose to buy the big food and save the money for the mutation reroll. So overall, I think that was a pretty good Astrolab. We only took a few hits, I think, and we got ourselves a 60. Again, I don't think we're going to get anything good in that door, but the additional money that we're going to get, the additional stuff that we're going to get from recycling in there is going to give us just a little bit more cushion, for those rerolls. So let's take a peek. In here. No. Recycle. We're good. So now I think we got to figure out what we want to do here. So what I should do is I should reroll the mutations first, so that way I already do that. So if I spend a lot of money, I'm not saying, oh man, I forgot to reroll my mutations. I'm going to see, I'm not going to keep that. Am I? I'm going to keep that. I'm thinking about keeping that. I'm probably going to keep it. Yeah, I'm going to keep it. Damn. All right. So what are we doing? We're doing Tainted Flask. I think we're going to do Disengagement should be the next open wounds and disengage. Is that what we're going to do? That's what we're going to do. So I should pause here and show the build. Please, please, please pause. There we go. There it is. So that's the build. That's the final build. We don't have bleed on Alucard's shield. I could have rolled for that if I wanted to. Maybe I kept it for one of the other affixes. I don't know. But we're going into the final boss. So this is the big spoiler. So if you don't want to get spoiled, totally peace out. As always, thank you for hanging out. Otherwise, we're going in here. I'm going to wait to drink my first flask until the fight starts. So you can drink your flask there with Tainted Flask to get the damage bonus before the boss fight. But I want to maximize the amount of time that I'm going to get this flask here, the amount of time I'm going to get that bonus damage. So I'm going to chug right here, or I should, right? There we go. I'm going to wait a second to see what his first move is. I'm going to parry with the Alucard shield. The downside to the Alucard shield is when you parry an attack like that, it doesn't actually stun or stop the collector. So as you saw, I did get the parries off, but I also took a few hits. And I think the other, yeah, oh my god, that's a lot of damage. The other reason why I think I took the 1% healing from the vampire killer or the Alucard sword is because I have so much health. It almost doesn't matter as much. But overall, this fight's going okay. We're doing pretty decent. Again, we took a big hit there, but seems to be on the up and up. And of course, as we're finishing the fight, I coughed a few times. Perfect, right? But there it is. The lesson learned is don't record audio first thing in the morning because your body hasn't fully woken up yet. How's that, right? We took another big hit and then we finished. So there we go. So we made it through. I made it through. You made it through. Trevor Belmont made it through. So we got through the Castlevania run here. So again, RPGesus, thank you so much for the suggestion. Like I said at the beginning of the video, this was great. Straight down the middle. Get some Castlevania items, see how it goes. And that's what we did. So again, aside from those several items that we didn't showcase, I think we did a pretty good job here. So thank you for your time. Thanks for hanging out here again, whether you skipped around, whether you stayed for the whole thing. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. This has been a fun one. Per usual, this has been a fun one, right? So again, hope you're well. Take care of yourself. All right. As always, thanks for watching and good luck out there.